Hey, 3 Poi spinners. Welcome to a Poi Swaps Masterclass. Today, you have the opportunity to learn these 10 swaps, plus some variations. For starters, I'll show you each swap and give you the name so you know what you're getting into. First, we have the bottomless box. Second, we have the underhand swing through. Third, the overhand swing through. Fourth, vertical stacking. Fifth, we have Superman's mess. Sixth, switchbacks. Seventh, we have weave swaps. In both reverse and forwards. Eighth, we have the spiral snatch. Ninth, the reacher. And 10th, the isolated corkscrew. Now, if all of these interest you, then you've come to the right place. Let's get right into it. The first swap is the bottomless box. You start from a 2.1 hand swing, hold this knob in between your pointer and middle so that your ring, pinky, and thumb are available to catch the head. From there, you'll do these 4 steps. Drop, swap. Well, we don't actually do swap on the first one because when you are fully in the pattern, you have a knob and a head in each hand, right? But when you first start the pattern, you actually have 2 knobs in one hand. It's the only time you'll have that configuration. Drop, swap, lift, place. Drop, swap, lift, place. Drop, swap, lift, place. Drop the knob, swap the head, lift the dangly boy, and place it in the other hand. The aesthetics of the bottomless box come from doing all the steps at the same time and in a very snappy fashion, resetting. Wherever that head swings to, it lands and just stays there. Now, the bottomless box is not something you will do mid-combo. It's a very nerdy swap, and it's more of a warm-up drill and a way to build proprioception than it is actually an aesthetic or an awesome thing. You can't really do it with fire, and when you're performing with it, most people don't really understand what's happening. There are some really cool variations of it, and it is a great way to start or end a combo. For example, I like doing this. Right? I started from a bottomless box and ended in a bottomless box. So, another tip, I have 2 more tips for this swap actually. When you really start doing this a lot, you'll have this collision happen a lot. See how the knob hits the head? In order to make room for that, I stick my elbow out, right? You're starting kind of here where the knob will surely collide. But if you stick your elbow out and curl this wrist inward, it makes a lane, right, for that knob to swing freely and for that head to swing past, okay? See how that elbow comes up there and there? Over time, you'll decrease all those big telegraphs and you'll kind of keep it tight and close. But when you first do it, it is rather wonky. Here's a fun variation for you. Instead of letting it just dangle there, right? Instead of just letting it go lifeless. Swing it all the way around your hand, grab the knob. It's snappy and fun. Check it out. So you're holding the poi head with your pinky, ring, and thumb. And as it swoops all the way around your hand, those same fingers grab onto it and manipulate it to get the head over here. Now, you can continue that. You can just do it over there. Oops. You can just keep doing it, but then you're not really cascading anything. You're just using the same poi over and over. It's a fun, snappy little variation, though. I also like going from the bottomless box into the underhand swing through, which you will learn in a moment. Let's make sure you're fully equipped to do this. Drop the knob, rotate your wrist, prepare your hand, lift in place. Drop, swap, lift, place. Drop, swap, lift, place. You can set here and practice doing this too. That's kind of nice. You just build up momentum with a regular spin. Practice doing that, and over time, you just do less in between. Like here, I'm just doing 1, then I'll go down to 0. As far as the bottomless box goes, I would say it is a good way to start the masterclass because it kind of lets you know if you like swaps. If you find this interesting, you'll enjoy the rest of them. As you'll see, they're all so dynamic. You know, there's no pause points. You have to keep them moving. And at any point, what's kind of cool for most of these swaps is you can actually go back into the bottomless box as a reset point. If you watch a lot of my videos, you'll see I do start combos from here a lot. I think it feels good to go into that spin. And when you're trying to start a combo, there's a lot of movement to your poi. You don't know exactly how to start it. You know, do you just let them dangle and go right into it? I think it's cooler to start with a little bit of intention. So I think as your 3-poi journey goes along, you'll find yourself in bottomless box more than you realize. Here it is into overhand swing through, for example. Quite nice. And here it is out of vertical stacking, right? Here it is in slow motion from a couple different angles for you. Hopefully by now, you're running the bottomless box smoothly and you're finding some fun variations for yourself. So next, let's get into the underhand swing through, the first dynamic swap of many. The underhand swing through, or the UST, is a tricky little beast, but you can do this. Pointer in middle holds a knob and swings, where it is caught by the other hand by the thumb, where it just dangles there, right? So maybe you're not even here yet. This static versus dangle is not required to do this because you can get lucky and have them swing through that gap. But there's a good bit of drilling to these swaps. You must be able to do this if you want to isolate the swap component of it. So let's look at that. For the dangle grip to work, you use the pointer in middle to hold the knob way out at the end there. I mean, the further apart you can get, the better, but that's too far. It usually sits right about there. The knob being held by the thumb, you want to keep it as close to your body as possible. Again, getting back to the idea of keeping the poi in lanes, like so. See how I caught it and it kept spinning? We actually don't want to do that. What we want to do is catch it and make it dangle as soon as possible. Just like the bottomless box where you swung it up intentionally and had it land right where you want it to, that's what's going to happen here. So if you want to practice the sort of repeating switchback version of it, just practice going like that, right? Get your dangle grip, make sure they're not colliding, figure out the little bit of a rhythm it takes to get them to avoid each other, keeping them as far apart as possible, and make sure your other hand can smoothly receive it and make it dangle. So now for your first couple swaps with 3 poi, you've got your static versus dangle in one hand. This one's holding the knob in the pointer and middle, so the thumb is free to receive. Let it receive and make a dangle. Now this one's spinning. As soon as you grab it, it hangs there. But the one that's swinging, as soon as it grabs it, it keeps swinging. Chaos and order. The thing about the underhand swing through is that once you get it, it opens up a million doors. It's very consistent, and you can't even believe there was a time you couldn't do it, right? I mean, I could do this all day. And the variations are not super hard. But when you're learning it, it takes a lot of brain power. Why is that? Well, any cascading pattern that uses a new grip is automatically taxing your brain twice, because it's the idea of cascading through the pattern and also preventing the collision. Here it is from the side, so you can see how I'm using the lane system to keep the poi from colliding. Is there an easier way to unlock this for your brain? Well, clubs actually offer a great way to unlock the underhand swing through with poi. Not going to go into a super deep dive, but the concept of Legos makes this really easy because it's like the bottomless box where it's in slow motion. The underhand swing through with clubs looks like this. Hold one club by the middle and the other knob by your pointer and middle. Hold this club however you want, as long as you get it to this grip. Then you swing it across your body, grabbing the dangling club with your thumb, and release the one that was previously holding it so that it can do the grip switch. I recommend starting this in slow motion. That is, if you have clubs. If you don't, I also have a slow motion version for you. And making sure that you can understand it when there's not the extra swing in the way. See how collisions are pretty unlikely? This is actually how I learned it. I go back and forth with clubs a lot. A lot of poi purists do not, and they're way better than me, so I can't really argue with them. But I juggle clubs all the time to unlock patterns with poi. So if you don't have a set of clubs yet, I consider getting one. You can also use the ground to keep the 2 poi in one hand separated, so you can practice swinging through and using your thumb to receive that knob. You can then practice the grip switch over here, the swing back, and the swing through. Grip switch, swing through, grab. Grip switch, swing through, grab. Once you've gained proficiency with a 2 poi one hand static versus dangle on both sides, it'll make this a lot easier because you can add extra beats, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. See how the proficiency with the static versus dangle is critical? Well, let's talk about that. In my right hand, I have no problem keeping the orange poi, the pointer and middle poi, in wall plane. It happens quite naturally. But in my left hand, notice how the green poi has this tendency to drift into wheel plane, and even all the way back there. That is not good. So when I was isolating the drills for this style of poi spinning, I really sat there and made sure I knew how to adjust my non-dominant hand to to keep the poi in their correct lanes, in this case, wall plane. Yeah, even to this day, I still struggle with a little bit of drift, and bringing it back is harder than just keeping it there, right? With this particular thing, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Once you're really comfortable with the base pattern, you can do this variation. It requires a little bit of extra upward lift. See how in a normal pattern, I'm almost grabbing the other poi before I'm dropping it? On this one, you're definitely dropping it and grabbing it out of the air. You don't necessarily have to, but you'd have to be really fast to get it around. It is a little bit easier when you just give it a little bit of upward lift, throw a nice flat. I love that variation, and I look forward to seeing you come up with some too. And on the topic of throwing that poi a little bit, instead of a flat, you've probably realized by now that you can do this swing through. If you do a throw, instead of just a swap right there, you can replace it with a throw. The underhand swing through with a throw is known as the switchback, and that's coming up in a little bit. In addition to the behind the head variation, you can also interrupt the pattern with your legs. It's a little bit silly, kind of circusy, but maybe you'll be the one to make it look cool. So that does it for the underhand swing through. Perhaps you're wondering what would happen if you took the concept of juggling known as a reverse cascade and applied it. Well, then you'd get the overhand swing through, or the OST. The overhand swing through, our third swap, and one I like way more than the underhand swing through. The overhand swing through is far more aesthetic, and it utilizes Goddard grip, which is far better for butterflies, weaves, and double stalls. So the only difference between Goddard grip and dangle grip is that the tether goes along your palm instead of along the outside of your hand. So just for quick reference, dangle grip, Goddard grip. So let's put that to use. Start in your bottomless box, get your other static versus dangle going, butterfly, reach through the gap, and grab with the thumb. Right after you grab it with the thumb, it'll do a controlled pendulum. Hopefully, you don't wind up here. That's a very wonky butterfly. I personally prefer this butterfly, and what you'll notice about the overhand swing through is that it puts you into this butterfly. A little bit harder to control, and not many of us use it, to be frank. So let's do a very structured drill for the overhand swing through so you can get your first couple reps in. Start in a bottomless box, little down swoop, static versus dangle, butterfly, 1, 2, 3, swap. Grip switch, butterfly, 1, 2, 3, swap. Grip switch, 1, 2, swap. Grip switch, 1, 2, swap. As we explored with the bottomless box and the underhand swing through, you'll notice that the dangling poi is always closer to your body, where the swinging poi is always further away. Those are the lanes that they should stay in. All right, here's the pattern in slow motion from all angles, so you can get a feel for it for yourself. All right, let's look at some variations of the overhand swing through. The first variation is similar to the underhand one. go behind your head with it. The main difference is that there's an extra beat in front of you. You can get back in time if you spin it really fast, but I think it's a little too hectic. I actually prefer a little bit of a sort of cross stance as a pose for this variation. Now you might be looking for some transitions between the underhand and overhand swing throughs. There's 4 main ways to do it: left or right, from underhand to overhand, and vice versa. So first I'll show you how to get from underhand to overhand because it's a little bit easier. Did you see that? It involves a tricky little pendulum to reverse the direction of the poi. Here it is again. Reverse, reverse, forward, forward. Now I'm going to do it on the other side. Did you see it? Here it is one more time. It's very satisfying to be able to go through them. Now here's forward to reverse. That's right, that's a tough one. You have to be really quick with that direction switch. Here's the other side. As you can see, forward to reverse is much more difficult. If you're looking for transitions, I usually recommend that. I think it's the easiest. All right, that's going to do it for the overhand swing through. I highly encourage you to get these down, even if you don't do much else with it. There's a ton of juggling potential just from this alone. I mean, imagine all the different tosses you can do with all these different pendulums happening. You can pretty much always get back into it and do a toss from it. I love it, and I hope you do too. Once you've got the overhand swing through, you're ready for vertical stacking. Definitely a technical swap for the poi nerds. So how do you do it? Well, in a bottomless box, you throw the head out to the side, the native side. Pretty intuitive. But in vertical stacking, you throw it towards the non-native side, so from its downswing, you can swing up and over. Pay attention to that as I do vertical stacking here, the direction of the head swap. See how I have to sort of fit it in that little space right there? There's a lot going on, but it's worth drilling. And much like the bottomless box, there is a way to slow it down and do it one step at a time, right? Like with vertical stacking, you can just hold a head and a knob. Start with this kind of, but you can do it from a butterfly. I think I would just do it from here. Practice doing the grab. Gently release. Throw to the non-native. I am catching it. Yeah, I'm noticing this. I'm catching it with my thumb, and then on its way up, I let it slide into the pointer and middle so that these 3 fingers are available to catch the head. I am also using the knob and pinching it against the head to hold it in place. So here's vertical stacking in slow motion from a bunch of different angles so you can see for yourself. It's really easy to get hung up in the middle of the tether there. Quick note, you kind of want to find a way to let it slide through your hand and lock into place. If you pay really close attention, you'll see a lot of really good poi jugglers and folks doing swaps will accidentally grab it right there, and they'll even do the swap, and they'll find a way to let the swing carry the knob all the way to the tip like that. There's an awesome variation to vertical stacking, right? See how when you normally do it, you're always grabbing the head? Well, you can grab the knob instead. Head, knob, head, knob. Here's the other side, head, knob, etc. So you get into vertical stacking, and instead of just isolating that and dangling it there, you dynamically swoop it up and over. It doesn't take that much. That's why this variation is easier than the regular version. Overhand swing through, vertical stacking, variation. Here it is in slow motion for you. I really hope you enjoyed that one, because I do. The next swap is fun and easy. Superman's Mess. It's a 3-beat up top with a pinky side swap on the bottom. This is not a cascading swap, and to prove that, just look down. The pink poi is the only one being swapped. That's why it's so easy. Your prerequisites are a Superman with the left hand on top, doing a 2-beat, and a mirror reflection of that. If you don't know the Superman yet, start there. So to complete this swap and initiate a 3-beat from a 2-beat, you must of course do 2 beats on the non-native and 1 on the native. To initiate that, instead of scooping this green one over the top, I'm going to go underneath, and I have to speed it up a little bit. Observe the green one, how it's going pretty much the same pace throughout the whole weave. But when I do Superman's Mess, it has to speed up a little bit right before I grab the pink one. Something cool is if you grab it by the, see how I grabbed it by the center of the tether? Over time, if you have a loose grip, it'll just slide into place. Pay close attention to me grabbing the middle of the tether and how I sort of open up my grip and allow the knob to slide into place. That's a skill you'll be building along the way. Now let's take a look at this pattern in slow motion from a couple different angles so you can see it for yourself. Okay, that was a pretty long run. I love this pattern. It is not the most aesthetic, but it has kind of a fun little like booty bounce to it. So sometimes I'll spin around. The audiences, adult audiences think it's funny. I'm sure kids would think it's funny too. It's fun to transition in and out of it as well. it's just fun to play with this one, so try to get into it without looking ridiculous. I often combine it with a Fantastic Four as well, so I'll do a Fan 4 over there. Then I'll do another one over here. You can also bend planes with it, is really nice. So see how I'm doing the Superman in front of me? I can keep my feet rooted to the ground and migrate the pattern to a side. You can still do the swap. It's really useful with some of these to do that because look, it basically puts you right into wall plane. There's that transition again. Let's see what happens if I do it on the other side. Oh yeah, that goes into a weave nicely. So like I said, some of these swaps are much easier than others, and I hope you enjoy that one. It's fun and easy. The next swap is the Switchback Cascade. Perhaps it's not the most beautiful pattern, but it sure is useful. It's useful as a recovery trick, like if you have one that's way off, you need to take a couple beats to reset your pattern. It's useful. It's fun with this active 2. There's some crazy variations with it, right? The concept of a switchback allows you to do a lot of unique things. It's also a very nice setup. I just feel really confident in my switchback throws. So for starters, it's very similar to the underhand swing through. See how it just swings out in front and then goes into a dangle? Instead of a swing out in front, it's an upward toss. Focus on the vertical momentum. You can swing your hand to wherever it's going to land if you need to, but if you just focus on making it go vertically, it'll pretty much always make it over to your other hand. You'll see that my extra beat in between adds some style to it as well, but you can just do a dangled version of it, like so. Here it is in slow motion, so you can get to know it for yourself. All right, let's get into some variations. So the first variation is an upstall versus your switchback. That's going to get you used to doing stalls with it, so eventually you can do this downstall. Okay, so here it is in slow motion. As you can see, there's a lot of awesome switchback cascades. I also encourage you to just throw an active 2 behind your body. I think this adds a lot of style to it. Here that is from the side. Now, if you're struggling with switchbacks, I do recommend learning the 2-poi one-hand one. This is a very trippy and very satisfying concept, and perhaps your brain will like just focusing on 2-poi instead of 3. It happens surprisingly easily in both hands. Enjoy. Now you're ready for weave swaps. They are fast, and they are awesome. In reverse, as you can see, I'm just passing the green one back and forth to the pink and orange poi, which are being held by the pinky. The base pattern is this funky thing with the individual poi held in the pinky, and the swap happens on the native side, where you go from an individual poi to a 2-poi one hand, where the thumb grabs and scoops under really fast. Now for forward, it is a cascading pattern. So observe as the poi that is passed back and forth is not just the green one this time. Okay. The pinky poi from the 2-poi one hand becomes the leader. So it takes a second to get used to the new momentum and the new order of poi. You'll notice they kind of go into a same time moment right there. It's hard to keep them separate when your shoulders are tired. Here's reverse in slow motion. And forward. You'll notice that in reverse, there's not much of a grip switch going on. You just switch the poi between thumbs. But in forward, see how I pass the pinky? So I have to get this one into the pinky. That's kind of the hardest part to do fast. Getting it to your pinky and keeping it in time is tough because you're doing a grip switch and a weave at the same time. You'll wind up, that will happen quite a bit. Reset, make sure your poi are 120 degrees of separation from each other. And when you do the swap, you go from the pinky poi trailing to leading. Whoo! Hard on your shoulder. Here it is in slow motion from a couple other angles so you can see for yourself. And here it is in forward. Whew.
It's a lot, but it's quite satisfying, especially the reverse one. I have seen somebody do the forward nonstop cascade where they just keep it going. I have not gotten there yet. This is the best I can possibly show you. I look forward to seeing where you can work in those weave swaps. Maybe you figure out how to do it as part of a fountain or something. Either way, let me know because I'm very passionate about this one. This is a poi juggler's trick for sure. This is not for muggles to appreciate. This is for us. Up next, we have the 3 poi spiral snatch. As you noticed, when I open to one side, I weaved them all towards the same side, right? But when I open to the other side, I opened up into this like snake motion. Those are the 2 variations. And you'll have to decide for yourself which variation you like. I personally like the aesthetic of this one a lot more than this one. But to each his or her own. Here it is in slow motion a couple times so you can get the rhythm and timing for yourself. If you'd like to practice this in a rather segmented fashion, this is how you do it. You're in a 4-beat, 2 poi 1-hand reverse weave to the native side. This one is held like so. 2 poi 1-hand spiral wrap. Get this one spinning. Sorry, get this one spinning this direction. So from my perspective, the left one is going clockwise. As you unwrap it, quickly grab the pinky one from this hand, grab it with your thumb, and pull it out to that side. Okay, so just like that. Now let's try it with this hand. If you get that extra long dangle there, sometimes you can just swoop it around like that. Okay, get some good tension in your hand so that you're pushing out with your fingers. They're all spreading apart from each other. Get this one spinning in the way it's going to go. Get your grip ready. And sometimes you don't get it. Let's try that a couple more times. See, I keep grabbing the thumb now. You have to be really quick and make sure you grab the pinky out of the 2 poi 1-hand. Like so. And they're going to tangle a lot just like that. It's a fast and dynamic and rather scary pattern, but it is oh so cool. There's a good one. And if your wrists and shoulders get tired, that will happen. They just won't unfurl nicely. There we go. You can practice this before you do it with the full 3 poi spiral. Give it a little swing and unfurl like so. Here it is from the side. This one's pretty tough, and I definitely put it towards the end of the masterclass because it's a challenge. But we're not going to end on the spiral snatch. That'd be a bummer. I've got two more pretty simple, pretty fun, and elegant swaps for you. So let's get into the isolated corkscrew. All right, our 9th swap is the isolated corkscrew. And it looks like this. I love this one for performances. So you'll notice that when my right hand has the 2 poi one hand, it's in Goddard grip, which looks like this. But when my left hand has it, it's in this funky modified grip. And in fact, when my left hand grabs it, it often winds up in all sorts of different grips. You kind of just go with what you can with this swap. But if you'd really like it broken down, you can see that the pointer is hooking it there, and then the rest of my fingers are grabbing the other knob. Here it is in slow motion a couple times, so you can get to know this timing for yourself. I love collecting it like that too. I just think that's fun. All right, so a really fun performance variation for you is to go from a no beat cascade, for example, and grab it really fast and transition into the isolated corkscrew. Right there. I think that looks really cool, especially if you can time it with the music. And then, like I showed you, that's a fun collect. This is a short and sweet one, and I hope you do it in part of your performance too. The final swap is known as the reacher because the individual poi is reaching across to the non-native side to receive a poi with the thumb. Now, as you can see, there's a lot going on here, but it's not actually as hard as you'd think, because you can break it down into sections. Right? Now you'll be in your thumb with the individual poi, so you have to switch it to pointer and middle. Carefully bring it across. It's kind of blind, you can't really see what's going on. It's all by feel at this point. And when you come back, use the thumb to grab the poi and make it dangle. When you look at this from the side, you'll notice that I have to like tilt my wrist like so. I go from here to there for a split second, and that's to keep the poi from colliding. So observe as I use a little bit of a wrist tilt like that to control the lane that the swinging and dangling poi are in. Now, we are using Goddard grip in this one, and so you have to go from here to here. Pay attention to the grip switch a couple times so you can build this muscle memory for yourself. Switch. Yeah, on my left hand, I do the grip switch a little bit sooner, I'm noticing. Like I do it on the swing out, but in my right hand, I sometimes wait until it's swinging in. There's all these little idiosyncrasies and all these little subtle habits you develop doing these swaps. And only in the making of the tutorial do I notice them. Anyway, here it is on repeat, so you can get to know it for yourself. get into a variation of the reacher now. So for this one, I take the individual poi, go behind my head, and put it back in. So here that is in slow motion a couple times, so you can appreciate exactly when to bring it back in. For this variation, you really need good lane control, and you need to do that wrist rotation where you go from here to there, because with so much swooping action of going behind your head, you know, from here to here, it's going to have a lot of forward momentum when it goes from behind your body to in front. So here it is from the side. It's a very fun swap variation, and it has a kind of puppet master aesthetic to it. I really like this one. I've actually never seen anybody else do this variation, but I think it has a lot of potential. And in fact, I think all these swaps have a lot of potential, and so do you. That's going to wrap up the masterclass, and I look forward to seeing the swaps that you come up with, and hopefully some fun variations. Feel free to send them to me. Have a great day.